Hi, I'm Francesca Nand, and I've been asked by Thyroid UK, the charity of which I'm a patron, to tell you a bit about my thyroid story. I first developed an underactive thyroid when I was about 19, 20. Although I had the symptoms of one, it wasn't until a couple of years later that I was actually officially diagnosed with it. I was first of all very slim and fit and healthy, modelling part-time when I was studying, and I began to get palpitations and suffer from anxiety and all sorts of horrible things. And then after a couple of months I put on 3 stone within around 6 to 8 weeks, without really changing my lifestyle. My hands and feet were numb. I felt very miserable, very tired, like my head was just full of cotton wool. I couldn't function. I was at in my first year of university, and well, my brain was just not working as it had been before. I was very used to, finding writing and everything easy, and things just didn't work. So eventually, a couple of years after I developed symptoms, I found a doctor who diagnosed me. I was sent to see a specialist, an endocrinologist, and even though my thyroid blood tests had come up normal, until that point, at that point, 2 years after I started suffering the symptoms, I was eventually diagnosed as hypothyroid and given a very low dose at that time of thyroxine, 50 micrograms a day. Since that time, I've learnt to manage my thyroid on my own, I would say. I am now on 125 micrograms of thyroxine. Usually, sometimes I go down to 100, depending how I'm feeling. And what I do is I go for blood tests every couple of months, or whenever I feel a change. I'm lucky that my GP is really flexible, and I get my dosage of medication in 25 micrograms, so I can adjust it on my own if I need to. Do I still have any symptoms? I think I do. I don't think it's something that you ever get completely rid of, and I have had some problems over the years. I mean, I have learnt to deal with them, like I said. I think a lot of things happen that are related to the thyroid gland. Like the other day I was getting really bad aches in my arms, and I was thinking, why am I getting aches? And it turns out that I'm a journalist. I write a lot on a computer, but I think I've got the symptoms of carpal tunnel syndrome. Googled it, and it's very well connected to thyroid, and a lot of people get the two. So that's just an example of how new information about thyroid problems always crop up. This is, some 15 years after I first was diagnosed. So I manage it. It's not the most brilliant thing in the world, but my weight is normal now. In terms of weight, I think the only way I've managed to get control of my weight and be healthy and fit, size 10, is by weight training and exercising, and it's not much fun. I know you might not want to hear that, but that's the only way I can keep the weight in check. Also limiting carbohydrates, because I find that carbs really interfere with the energy levels, and they're what you want to eat because they're comforting and they're nice, but if you cut those out and do some weights and walk a lot and you try and keep as fit and healthy as possible, it will help your weight if you are having weight problems. So that's it really. I mean, it was hideous, a really hideous journey at the time. I'm lucky that I found Thyroid UK because they were able to explain why I didn't get diagnosed for a long time, the discrepancy between normal levels used for testing in various laboratories. And my main tip for you, if you're worried about thyroid symptoms or you're a thyroid patient already, is become the most informed patient you can possibly be, because a lot of the time you might find yourself in the position of knowing more than some general practitioners about it. They're not experts, and there's a lot of new research out there that's not necessarily acknowledged or used by people. So read up as much as you can, become as much aware as much as possible what's happening in your body, and you will be able to tell the fluctuations in thyroid, and hopefully you too can get treated and be as well as I am. I'm not 100%, but who is? And generally I managed to lead a really well balanced, happy, healthy life. So I think that's the main thing.